The newest justice, your newest colleague, Amy Coney Barrett, seemed to identify with your view, was articulated in this book in a speech that she gave yesterday in Louisville. I don't know if you've seen news reports of it, but quote from her speech, she said, "My goal today is to convince you that this court is not comprised of a bunch of partisan hacks." And she went on to say that the court is defined by judicial philosophies rather than personal political views, which is essentially your point. She was a very controversial figure in her confirmation hearings because people feared precisely the opposite, that her record of opinions, beliefs was so well established over so many years in law review articles and other things that it was clear what her views were. Let me just ask you what you think of what your fellow Justice Barrett had to say, and whether you think the newer justices who've been appointed by Republican presidents, whether they worry that they're viewed in ideological terms, as she seemed to be troubled by.
Yes, I do agree with what I think the approach is that she's taking there. You know, as I've said, it takes some years, and you then gradually pick up the mores of the institution. And the mores of the institution, you're a judge. And you better be there for everybody, not just the Democrats, not just the Republicans. Even if a Democrat or Republican appointed you, you're there as a judge, and that means you better be there for everybody. They won't see it. A lot of people will strongly disagree with many of the opinions or dissents that you write. But still, internally, you must feel that this is not a political institution, that this is an institution that's there for every American. It was created, after all, to prevent the other two branches of the government from going too far. It does not always fulfill that role perfectly. It doesn't at all, but sometimes it does. When I see a case I really think was wrongly decided, I start to think about how difficult Brown versus Board of Education was to bring that into effect in the United States. How difficult it was before the South began actually to follow integration and get rid of laws that demanded segregation. To think about how that didn't just depend upon judges. It depended upon Martin Luther King. It depended upon the Freedom Riders. It depended upon the average, ordinary citizens of the United States beginning to think that what was going on in the South was really wrong. Now, all those things have to come together with a group of judges, at least in that instance. And then perhaps you have what's called the rule of law. Never for certain. Never for certain. But that's what you try.